fellow tech connectors and tech connector fans, those of you who've been consuming, yes, that's the word I was looking for, consuming Texonnect Voices. We're still in season 2, and season 2 is super exciting. Well, one, because we've been engaging on artificial intelligence. I remember the last time we engaged with Kwame Nyatwame on artificial intelligence and education technology, and we also engaged with Jeremy Quaynon on artificial intelligence and fintech. And I'm sure most of you have already consumed season 1. We had a plethora of amazing people that we engaged. But today I'm super excited because what I'm bringing you may not be something that you've thought of or be aware of or even know. And the person that I brought is even more incredible. I am here today and I'm privileged to be engaging Lieutenant Colonel George Eduah Beesi. And I mean, he's with the Ghana Armed Forces, but he has an impressive CV. Let me set the tone for the ethos here. First of all, he's a senior officer of the professional Ghana Armed Forces and was the deputy director responsible for strategic intelligence and head of cyber branch. Now, he has 18 years of military service that has seen him in various leadership command and staff appointments. Now, I'm going to put his full CV on the system after, so I can't go too much into it. But for those who are coders in here, I know some of us are not tech people, and that's fine. But for those who are coders in here, if you hear words like COBOL, Visual Basic, C++, you know this is old school, right?
That's true.
I mean, very soon we won't even know about languages because he's going to be doing everything. But these are the people that understood. COBOL was what? Something as basic, business language. Yeah, something around that, right? He's also the head of the law enforcement liaison unit at the cybersecurity authority. Do you know Theo?
Yes, Theo
works with the Theo is also a tech connector, interested, and he also leads strategic collaboration between the authority and national security institutions, including the Ghana Police Service and the Ghana Armed Forces. So we're talking serious intelligence stuff, guys. This is getting very, very serious. Now, the law enforcement liaison unit. He's a lecturer in residence, or he was a lecturer in the University of Cape Coast. Strategic Operations Officer, CSA. Chief Operations Officer. I mean, he's done top-notch stuff, and he's dealt with intelligence. He's been trained by the best. His certificates will blow your mind, from mobile defense to Master of Science in Defense and International Politics to advanced training in disarmament to basic training in disarmament to defense management courses and so forth and so on. So I'm just sharing this with you to let you know that whatever we're getting here is from a practitioner. It's core. It's the real deal. We're not giving you theory. We're giving you practical insights. And today we are engaging him on artificial intelligence in warfare. The plane has changed. Welcome, Lieutenant Colonel.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad to have you me.
Wonderful. So, welcome to Texonnect Voices. Here we try to engage technology across. Now, we know still some of our grandmothers think technology is just having a computer, or technology is knowing how to use a mouse, or as my mother used to say back in the day, family disco man, no bro, which is a disco man, when that was cabinet technology. But technology has changed so much, technology has advanced, and now artificial intelligence is totally changing the game. So welcome, and we're looking forward to engaging you on some very strategic insights. Is there anything you'd like to start with before we get into the heat of why we are here?
First of all, let me just thank you for this opportunity, and also thanks for having me as part of your innovation to bring this information to the public of Ghana. And for now, being the first time in your studio, this very wonderful place, I wish we give my best and also give the best out to the nation for us to progress and to make sure that you achieve your aim, aspirations, and your objectives as far as this concept is set up.
Thank you very much. Patriotism, yes. So, Lieutenant Colonel, in your view, how has artificial intelligence transformed modern warfare? And what are the biggest trends shaping the future of military technology right now?
Thank you very much. I believe that it's very important we define, or we should just bring to our viewers the meaning of what artificial intelligence simply means. Artificial intelligence, they refer to as AI. What is AI? The last time I went to give a talk at one of these areas, someone said artificial AI is just like you putting bread into water and trying to squeeze it up. That was their genuine understanding. Putting bread into water and squeeze it was the meaning of AI. And I sound very, very weird. That was the very first time I heard such. And it was not in a rural area, it was within the urban centers.
Interesting.
Yes. And so AI, which we refer to as artificial intelligence, is simply the stimulation of intellectual processes by machine, especially computers. The way we human beings think, we try to let machine mimic same and perform the same role. So there are three processes that will come in here: how we get information as human beings, how we process information into an end product, and then how we correct ourselves. These 3 points or these 3 areas is what artificial intelligence seeks to do. So when we say artificial intelligence, we're really referring to simulation of intellectual processes that are done by machine, especially computer systems. Exactly. And so for over the years, if coming back to the question, the evolution of artificial intelligence in warfare, this is like 2 questions in one. First of all, we have the evolution, and then in warfare. So there's a warfare aspect and the evolution. Once you mention the evolution, almost about 3 or 4 quick concepts comes into your mind. The first one is the initial concept of AI, and that one was between the early 1940s and the 1950s. And then we came to the Cold War development. That was between the 1960s and 1980s, when we started going into details using algorithms. And then we came to the Gulf War. The Gulf War in the 1990s. That was the area we got to know how AI was really used as far as GPS was concerned in targeting enemy strategic installations where human beings could monitor. You don't need to be there to see, but then you are using machine to process and to degrade your enemy. And then we have the 21st century, and then the rise of AI. And it is so enormous. I mean, we are seeing the vast growth of AI in the 21st century. Currently, we have what we call current innovations. And the current innovations are now dealing with drones. Completely the first time in our world that we are using drones, which are used by AI completely. AI will tell you, now this is a drone, I want you to just maybe a drone designed for a specific task. Yes. And that is where we are in. So for evolution, these are the various stages that we have come to. And it has really impacted the warfare of every nation in 3 areas. First of all, in strategic thinking, and then secondly, in tactics, and then finally in operational deliveries. These are the 3 areas where AI had really affected tremendously as far as modern warfare are concerned.
Strategic thinking, tactical thinking, and operations.
Yes. So for all 3, strategic, tactical, and operational.
You know, it's interesting that the Army has always been at the forefront of technology evolution since I can remember. From the ARPANET to, networks to even mobile deployment when it came to internet in areas where they do not have the same type of infrastructure. The defense has always been at the cutting edge, and it's interesting that you're bringing this perspective as well as you were engaging on the history. So how now you're talking strategic, you're talking tactical, you're talking operational, but how specifically is it shaping in the future?
Okay. So if you talk about shaping, without AI or without, let's say, machines, this time it was human beings that were directly on the field taking decisions at the time wars are happening. All these are being done these days with AI. With the drone that we have, it has rather shaped our warfare so drastically to the extent that we use AI to aid the infantry whilst performing his task. Yes. And with this one, what the machine can see, you whilst you cannot see. So advancedly, we are just on top as far as.
Do you think we can ever get to a point where we're so advanced in artificial intelligence that war does not require killing anybody, but just destabilizing economies?
Yes, that one comes under the strategic policy. So every nation and its policy, and if you could look at what China is saying, China says that from their policy, by the year 2030, they want to be the world leaders in terms of AI development and also helping economic growth. They are not into fighting battle. But then that same policy, if you look at that of US, is different. They want to win all their wars. Exactly. So every nation in Ghana or in some of like Kenya, Kenya's policy is how to use AI to improve agriculture product and its economy. Three things: agriculture, health, and then economy. So every nation and its strategy.
You know, the world has been shaped by two ideologies. I mean, or some few ideologies. You know, capitalism, socialism, and all these things.
Yeah.
And I am beginning to feel that what you just said is also going to now start shaping the future of the world. So there will be those who conform with the China model of how do we.
Correct.
There are those who are going to conform to the US model of how do we win warfare.
That's correct.
And others are going to look at the survival of Africa. How do we make sure that at least the basic food is passing through? And it tells me that we need a lot more thinking. Like we all now need to be thinking. It's not. There's no more just receive, collect.
No.
Everybody has to be be at the table. Wow, this is interesting.
Because it's a broad field.
Yes.
So what do you expect the AI to do for you? And how will you want it to help you build your nation?
Exactly.
Are you going in for war, or you want economic growth?
Exactly.
Or you want to see how best agric will be developing? How best do you detect malaria parasite on your continent? So every nation and the level of its application.
Wow.
Yes. We are now almost over 250 years behind the developed world. We may not go into war now. Want to see how best we can use AI to improve. Excellent. So we can escalate and move faster. We will just be, instead of running, we'll be galloping. So we can catch up.
That's the role of Texonnect. So let's pay attention. All right, let's talk about autonomous weapons and lethal AI. What are the ethical and strategic implications of AI-powered autonomous weapons? And should there be global regulations governing their use? Okay. So let's talk about autonomous weapons and lethal AI. What are the ethical and strategic implications of AI-powered autonomous weapons, and should there be global regulations governing their use?
Thank you very much for this. Autonomous weapon, I don't know whether you have heard about what we call in abbreviated forms law, LAWS.
Okay.
Lethal Autonomous Weapon Systems.
Interesting, yeah.
Yes. Lethal autonomous weapon system. And this one mainly refers to the capability of a system or AI that has the ability to do specific selecting and targeting of its maybe adversaries without the intervention of any human being.
That's dangerous.
That's correct. And therefore, there's a need for legal and ethical considerations. That is it. So the meaning of that law simply means that this time they have three capabilities. The first one is what I want to refer to as a combat capability. Once it's able to locate AI alone without any human effort, it locates you and then it does selection. Once it picks your GPS, it does selection of which particular target has been assigned. Then it uses its capabilities or its hitting power to just finish it off. Yes, and then perhaps the last
one. This is what is dangerous because we are already talking about some of the concerns that have been raised. It's been raised even on the Texonnect Voices when we're engaged in CK, was about the biases.
That's correct. That's correct.
And so when you give these capabilities to a machine, when they are still biases that is not corrected, then we're all in trouble.
Yes. Yes. So the automated target selection, the what do you call the combat capabilities, and then the reduction of human oversight. So these are the three things that the LAWS has.
And if we don't put it in policy and ensure that procedures are clear and ensure that justifications of all rules are clear, then one day in the future when everything is working fine, somebody decides, I want to cut off budget, so cuts budget, cuts rules without realizing the implications and the oversight that comes in because it's not properly documented.
Right.
And then something major happens and then you spend time trying to cover it up because somebody missed the fact that these rules were. Thank you very much.
So accountability comes in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who takes account for some of these things that happen?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then what about when there's civilian safety? I don't know whether recently you heard about the airline that was shut down at Azerbaijan, Russia-Ukraine war area. They declared no-fly zone. When you say no-fly zone and any aircraft enter that zone, the system is triggered. No one is just, and unfortunately, almost lives were lost.
Wow.
Yeah, so the president have to now go to that country to communicate and compensate with all those things and like to pay even for the aircraft and all.
Why did they fly through it?
Because Army have declared no-fly zone. Was this communicated to all commercial? That is the civilian thing. That is civilian safety. I'm talking about the risk of malfunctioning or misapplying
communication
leading to civilian casualty with concerns. I hope that one will be very
very
exactly.
Yeah.
That is it.
Because sometimes even in communication, something may happen in the Army space and there may be a need to know.
That's correct.
So there may be a scope of the people that are informed.
That's correct.
But if that information, so the AI rather should be tracking to make sure are all key players and what are the possible scenarios and the possible stakeholders that must be communicated with.
AI doesn't have a fully, doesn't know that. AI have been just programmed that we have declared no-fly zone and therefore it has been activated. Once it sees anything flying in, whether it's a missile, it's a plane, it couldn't even identify what exactly the object was. But the zone had been breached and therefore it triggers it out.
Wow. Yes, a lot of
and we have a lot of them even in all this country. I know about Israel, I know about US, even in Korea, that they are big war. We have this kind of autonomous weapons system set in.
Of national security.
Thank you also. Cyber use in AI use in cyber warfare.
Yes.
So here we have AI separate and we have cyber warfare. Cyber warfare alone, we have classified some of them into first generation cyber attack, second generation cyber attack. When we're growing up, when we say your computer has been affected, we're talking about some virus and some, but that's the first generation.
Yeah.
We've not been able to clear that one yet.
Yeah.
And then we came to the second generation attack. And this is the complicated ones. We have something like the phishing, the hacking, the ransom attacks.
Yeah.
And they are running.
What are the social engineering for?
They are bad. That's the solution to some of the things.
Yeah.
So now AI is used for both defensive role to prevent some of these attacks happening. At the same time, the black hackers are using the AI
offensive
role. Yes. And that is what really happened. So we have something like, anytime you hear something like a detector, we are using automated threat detector. Those automated threat detector comes from you being a defensive. And that one uses the AI system to analyze vast number of information and then also check whether our systems are compromised or not. It gives you a leeway to determine whether whatever you're even developing, which areas you are liable for or to vulnerabilities. Yeah, so that one is there. Then we have the predictive analytics. It can predict, AI can predict for you to know that perhaps this is likely to happen to you because it has studied the patterns that are informed. Recently we have what we call the enhanced decision making. And then also we have the adaptive response. These are all mechanisms that are used for the protecting, that's the defense way. Then at the same time we have the offensive ones. That is where we have the malware detectors, we have the phishing, we have the intrusion detection systems, and then the automated penetration testing. Then intelligent response systems. All these are part of the ways to defend. And then we even have the ransomware defense. that is the most important area we wish every country will go in.
Yeah.
Millions and millions of money. Americans suffer trillions of this each year.
People's information
Yes.
is locked.
I mean, you are there and you see that your whole system is shut down.
Can't access it.
You can't access it. Then you see some green inscription. If you want your document to be redecoded, then pay this amount.
Wow.
How then you detect it?
Well,
We are using AI
Wow.
these days to do all those. So for the offensive, we use the same automated cyber attack.
yeah.
Yes. So it is for both offensive and then defensive.
And sometimes we have things as simple as, and I happen to experience this as well, where your website is defaced, and it's defaced simply for the reason that there's a political agenda being pushed and you're not. So we were hacked once because they said, we're not paying attention to Syria. So they wanted more people paying attention to what's happening in Syria at that time. So people were just randomly defaced to support, to be involved, to be aware. So there are those as well. They may not necessarily be malicious, but they intend to get your attention, and it's a survival thing. So, wow, how do we deal with that?
Even in election, we use these things for defake, weaponization, displacement, and impersonation.
Interesting.
I don't know whether you heard about our current president during the election time where someone used AI to, mimic his voice.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I have all the clips and all those because we did all those investigations. So at higher level, AI can be used for very worse
Information,
but it can also be
disinformation.
used for a very
Good thing.
Yes.
So the actors have to play to make sure that.
It depends on
Wow.
how.
We all have work to do, people. By the way, I'm sure you heard him refer to black hackers, and just for our listeners who may not be tech savvy, black hackers are actually people with bad intentions who can hack, who have the tools, and we have what we call white hackers. The white hackers are ethical hackers, and their role is to make sure that they find the vulnerabilities in your systems before somebody else does, so that they keep you safe.
Exactly.
So just so you know the difference.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right. So let's talk about AI in military strategy and decision making. You are the decision maker. You've been involved in a lot of decision making roles, and you do a lot of strategy as well. Can AI powered systems make better battlefield decisions than human commanders? And what are the risks of relying too much on AI in warfare? And I think you've already given us a preview on that with some of the scenarios you've given. Can you expand on that? Yeah.
Right, thank you very much. Also, that's AI in
Military strategy and decision making.
Oh, okay. For military strategy and strategic making, AI will play a very vital role.
Okay.
For now, especially in Africa, where we want to gallop, not to run because of our delays, I want to assure you that without AI, it is very difficult to catch up. And then also, your level of vulnerability will be so high to your adversary that they will tell you what you ought to do if you want to really survive. So for now, what Africa and especially Ghana ought to do, we have to have a very targeted strategic policy as far as intelligence gathering are concerned. Intelligence gathering, intelligence sharing, our predictive analysis systems must all be activated in this very regard. All these things must be encapsulated in the policy. So what is our policy going forward as a nation? I know Ghana, we launched our strategic AI policy somewhere in October 2022. Actually, I've not had time to really go through, but I know I have read others. And when you read other countries like the Chinese one and that of the US, they have a specific goal where they are it's aimed at. Yeah, I have some.
We actually had an engagement with Eduah
Yeah.
On this Texonnect Voices,
Okay.
and she spoke about laws around AI in our first season 1.
Okay.
And she actually touched on the fact that there are varying views from like those from the UK, those from the US,
Exactly.
in terms of how AI even has to be engaged as a policy. And she said we're veering towards kind of sort of watching them and playing along and seeing which direction to go in. I don't even think we even talked about the China one. So it looks to me like we need to have a proper review of all these and be very clear as to where Ghana should go. And I'm going to take my time and read our AI policy as
Let's
well.
get it. China's next generation artificial intelligence development plan. and it aims at making the country a global leader in AI by the year 2030. And in so doing that, they have a plan strategy, and it's discovering almost about 18 different fields. They go to agri, they go to medicine, they go to automobile, they go to weapons, then they go to this law I just mentioned, the lethal autonomous weapon system. They have all those things. So now they start developing some little, and in education most especially. So right now they even have what called cyber command. Everybody in China can be identified using facial recognition, and it gives them a national security. They know everybody that enters their country, and it makes it very easy for you to track a person. Do we have anything saying like that? What is our policy strategy? So when we are now trying to give our policy, we need to come, very broad. We shouldn't make it so narrow. Yeah. So every country and its specific AI policy and strategy as far as the world is concerned.
But as we do so too, we need to have the capability of protecting that information, otherwise we give away our sovereignty.
It's a key.
Yeah.
It's a key.
Yeah. Wow.
But then if I bring you a system to use, I don't know whether you heard some time ago, about 5-6 years ago, that the AU that was good for us.
Yeah, I heard about it.
You heard about it?
No, but
it's an AI.
Yeah.
It's an AI too.
Yeah.
Do you know about it? Do we knew? And what could we do even when we knew? Do you have the resources to fulfill that? Great. But then if you have a policy, we could have taken advantage of that policy and do something great. So what the question that you have asked is very important, and that every nation ought to develop its own policy as far as AI is concerned, and then to help grow its economy.
And this is a challenge to those in the private sector, and this is a lot of things that we in Texonnect are also trying to do. Please, let's not just think about making money. Right now, we need to be very, very intentional about protecting our nation, this great nation of ours. And so we all have to come together and bring our expertise to ensure that the policies are comprehensive, strategic, ethical, and the data is correct, and that we protect the sovereignty of our nation by joining forces with those who are doing it at the front line. It's very important. Interesting. So, in summary, and I want to say this boldly, in summary to the initial question, you are basically encouraging Africa to get serious with this AI instead of running away from it. We actually need it. This is actually a blessing that has been put on the continent, and we need to take advantage of it to catapult to where we need to go to. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Everything here on earth has both the positive and the negative.
Okay.
So AI is developed. Others are taking advantage of AI in a positive direction. What are we doing?
To step up.
Do we also want to use it in a negative way or the positive way? To focus. But then, whilst you are doing the positive, you must be conscious of the negative. Yeah. So you are doing both offensive and defensive.
And sometimes it means also getting people jobs, because if you have smart people who have these smart tools and we don't give them something to do, then we're going to increase the whole set of 409 people. Sometimes it's also about bringing in the capabilities, bringing in minds, and keeping them from finding work otherwise, right? We need to be more strategic about that.
I also happy when I heard the minister saying that he's going to form this 1 million
coders.
That's the beginning. Where everybody, that's exactly what India did. Yeah, so everybody should be at least abreast with what IT is all about. And then gradually we'll get there. Exactly. So I'm for it.
And hopefully, Texonnect, we can do our part also into making sure that we're educating the entire population on what tech is and basic things around tech. Now you've already touched on this, but let's go deeper into this. AI-powered surveillance and reconnaissance. How is AI transforming intelligence gathering, reconnaissance, and battle civilians? And what does it mean for privacy and civil liberties?
For privacy, I will talk about that one. But for AI surveillance actually is just to enhance you getting to know about, in our technology, you want to know where your adversary is located. You want to get data about him. You want to know how his formation is on. You want to know about his deployment. You want to know his logistics base, because we are like in the military. We want to be in a defensive end. The best form to defend is to attack. But before you go into the attack, how is your enemy organized? His tactics. How does he attack? When you are on the ground, you won't be able to see far. So now you are going to use, or you are employing the use of AI for surveillance. So you fly your drones, and then you will see the entire deployment of your enemy, and then you can use the lethal autonomous weapon system to hit at your target. When it comes to the civil, we using AI against privacy. That one sometimes is very difficult. Just last week in my office, I got a situation where a husband bought a phone for a wife, and then he put in bugging devices, and everything that the wife was doing was. So how do you detect something like that? You ought to use AI to find out how that system works. It was complete mimicking of the wife phone, and seeing everything that the wife was taking with the ex and other things.
Also, the wife was cheating on him.
I couldn't say that. I didn't say that. I'm saying that you just want to monitor.
Yeah.
So gathering of information. Yes.
And we need to have policies around it, that is possible or not.
That's correct.
If that's lawful or not.
Yes.
And all that.
So enhancing monitoring, data gathering, and analyzing for security and then military purposes.
Yeah.
That is in my field. But when it comes to the civil side, civilians, all of us must know everybody. In fact, I love what China is doing. It's so interesting that when I mention your name in China, and then your name comes, you see almost about 3 million or 3,000 names. But for you alone, they can use your eye, facial recognition, and your fingerprint. And then when they key in those two things, it will bring you out exactly, you alone. Every information about you is out there. Your criminal records and all those things. Your good, the bad, the ugly, and your point. So beautiful. So for privacy, well, we will consider it under legal and ethical considerations.
It as well. Oh my goodness, that's what we're going into. It as well. So let's drill down into, because you've been mentioning quite a bit, defense and counterterrorism. How is AI helping militaries detect and prevent terrorist threats, and what are the challenges in balancing security with human rights? Our own practical examples.
So these are 3 in 1. We talk about terrorism. Yes, we talk about
human rights. We talk about balancing security.
Yes. So for terrorism, in fact, last 2 weeks we were in Malta. Terrorism financing was what we went and discussed. I happened to be on the platform with some astute Ghanaians also on that area, and we are now using what we call the dark trace, AI dark trace. In Ghana, I have not really chance on any data that indicate that Ghana is financing terrorists. But what we got from Nigeria and we got from Kenya and then some sub-regions within West Africa, they were clear indicators that these are the monies that are being moved from this bank to this bank to this bank, and it ends up at the hands of the terrorists. So how then do you cut those areas so that the terrorists will not get the tools to build on what they are doing? So terrorist financing was just discussed. We have a tool in our current dispensation that is being used for set tracking, but it is done when we have been able to identify a suspected terrorist. That is what it is. Then for the regulation, when it comes to the law, these are part of the strategic policies that are going to be drawn down for the nation, so that when we see certain things, especially Ghana, one of our biggest problems, we are number 4 when it comes to cryptocurrency in West Africa. Ghana deals a lot in cryptocurrency, but we have it as part of our regulators here in Ghana. The Bank of Ghana said we don't deal in, but we are doing it. Yeah. So how will you detect and how will you prosecute somebody when such money? Yes. Yeah. So it's still come back.
But you know that there's also this innocent, and I don't want to call it this thing, So I've noticed that there are a lot of people who actually talk to people here trying to move money, and they use these stories that if you're not aware, and not everybody is aware of how money laundering works. Like it almost seems like this foreign concept, right? So I'll give you an example. I've had people reach out to me in the past because of my social networks. So for example, I have this communication group I'm in, all this thing. Say, oh, I know you from here, this, that. Come to Ghana to do some business. I hope you can advise me. Stuff like that. They lean on your expertise. They say, okay, but I need your help because moving money has been an issue. This is that. Can I send you your account? And luckily for me, it's always been been a bit. I don't want somebody's money. But the funny thing is, back then I wasn't even thinking money laundering. I was just thinking, hey, I don't want you to move money to my account. That type of thing. It was just. But a lot of people don't think about money laundering like that because we talk about it, but we're not sensitizing enough about it. And we're not sensitive about the different ways that it's done. So everybody thinks that it's like clear cut, hey, I want to send you 1 million, I'll give you 10 million. But it comes in very, very different ways. The person wants to buy gold, the person wants to. So most people just look at what they're going to make and they are cut. And they never think about anything else. And so I think the security agencies need to do a lot more in terms of sensitization and scenario building and docudrama so we understand exactly. Because I don't think I think a lot of people have fallen for it.
It's not only the military, the entire nation.
Yeah.
Recently, let me just disclose this. Recently, a company from Italy wrote down here to the country that he has been given the law to go ahead and procure some items over 22 million euros. What saved the company that they wrote to the country through CSA that CSA should now find a background check. When we did a background check, everything, it was a phishing attack and it was email, business email compromise.
Yeah.
If the guy had not done this money would have been transferred. Yeah. So it's important, and I want to just say this. The CSA, I'm not speaking on behalf of CSA.
No, it's fine, it's all right.
But then it's important that when you are outside, you want to deal with any company in Ghana, you should just contact the appropriate authorities to do a background check and also to find out. And then also when any amount of money that is above the ceiling of the Ghana Commercial Bank is being logged into your account, be very much.
Do you know what that ceiling is?
They know it. They tell us. But a lot of money that have been stolen are being used through Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So even when we are able to pick the suspect, we have the law to do the prosecution. And that is the question that you asked. And so we need to go back again as a country, Ghana, and try to have laws and policies. Whether we like it or not, the Bitcoin is being used in the country.
Interesting. So how do we ensure that we're not violating human rights?
Human right. Human right and human left and all those things.
Human
right.
I'm asking the military man a hard question because they right.
Well, if you the best thing is to go back to the law.
Okay.
Yes, go back to the law.
Okay.
I don't want to. I will only know that I'm infringing on your right when I consult the law, because the law might have just spelled out all the things. Yes, so that is the only time I know I will infringe on your right. But until that happens, everything there in terms of security, we have the power to just go either investigate, effect arrest, and then do initial disruption.
And fellow Ghanaians, this is the reason that we need to be sure that we're also being involved in the lawmaking, that we're contributing, that we're reading, that we're engaging, that we're dialoguing. Because if we continue to act passively, then we can't blame any agency if we start feeling that certain things don't support our freedom. So we need to work hard at protecting those freedoms that we enjoy.
Because the national security is very important.
Exactly.
We need to hold on national security.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about the global AI arms race. Which countries are leading in AI military technology besides, of course, China and the US? And how could AI-driven warfare impact global power structures and diplomacy?
Let me define this. By saying that. When we say global AI arms race, we are referring to intense competition among nations to develop and to deploy. Two things:
Develop and
deploy
deploy. Okay.
artificial intelligence for economic purposes, for military purposes, and for strategic advantages.
Let me stop that right quick. So you're saying so just because it says warfare, don't just think guns, but for economic purposes.
Yes.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep.
And once it's a arms race,
Yeah.
there's hegemony. So everybody wants superiority. So these are the three areas that we will define it when it comes to global arms race: for economic, for military, and then for the strategic advantage of that state. So why is AI race is happening? It is happening because of perhaps the national security and for national defense. Yes, and then also for economic power. I've mentioned that, and also for geopolitical influence. Some nations were banned from developing news. Others were allowed to use news. Those who have news, how do they refer to them? The superpowers.
The superpowers.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it has geopolitical advantages and capabilities. And then we have strategic competition. Strategic competition, once you have and I have, we can have your strategic alliance and we think same. And then we will now use those ones to build our economy against the underdogs. Yes. And then we have AI ethical and regulations. AI ethics and regulations, those ones, for instance, governments are striving to balance the AI motivate innovations with ethical concerns and then also with the privacy and security risk.
Absolutely.
These areas are so
fluid.
I'm telling you.
Quite a lot of thinking, psychology, engagement.
I'm telling you.
We're not doing enough at all.
So these are the AI ethic and then the regulations. Governments are struggling. If you don't have AI innovation with ethical concerns, privacy and security risk, then perhaps I don't know. It's going to be very difficult on this matter. Yes.
Do you think this is going to switch us from looking just at hard power to soft power on a global level, or we're always going to have the issues around hard power?
We are always going to have the issue of hard power because of our level. Until we come at par, this balance will remain the same.
Because things are not balanced, so
As
people
we
are
speak.
prone to be bullies.
As we speak,
And the rest are.
you have that what it takes to even track one suspect who have been picked as dealing in money laundering using AI. But over there, just at a click, they can tell you all your movement. Yes. We entered into Israel just for 2 days. By the time we left Israel, they have given us our profile. Everywhere we went, all the money that we changed, because it goes with our passport. Even when you want to change money, it's the same thing in Ghana. Thank you. You are looking quiet. I don't like this one.
Well, we do enjoy our freedoms in Ghana, even though we want to reduce our risk. Yeah. Okay, so do you ever think AI will eventually replace human soldiers? I know you don't think it's a good idea, but will it happen? Or will it primarily be used as an enhancement tool for human-led combat operations?
It's no.
Okay,
There's no way AI will ever replace human.
that's too dangerous.
It will know it. Look, even when you consider the various generations of AI, first generation, second generation, third generation, scientists are arguing among themselves that they shouldn't go to the third generation.
What is the third generation?
Where they are using machines to have thinking and feeling. It's just like they are mimicking God. So the machine can do everything. Yes. So we don't want to even go in there.
There have been movies that have warned us about it.
Thank you. We want to use the normal Terminator, that's the first generation, and then also how our vehicle can drive automatically. As we speak, I know the US is testing aircraft without pilots. Yes. Do you want us to be in the same balancing scale with other people? China is trying to close the gap. gradually. But where they are thinking and where they are going, they have these things in their policies. We have developed our policies. Are we even implementing them in the next place? Okay, so if you want to ever use AI to replace human being on the field, the battle will never be won. If you watch carefully the Russia-Ukraine war right now, even when the drones detect and locate where enemies are there, they still need human beings, foot soldiers on ground to do the final elimination. And then when you are also hit, even though they have designed systems that will go and pick you from the field, but it will still need
Human beings.
human effort to do something. So I just want to categorically say that as of now, we're not there yet. It's a normal.
Let's look back at ethical and legal implications of AI in warfare. Should there be global treaties restricting the use of AI in warfare? And how do we ensure AI-driven military systems remain under human control?
There should be treaties. That is the governance aspect. There should be treaties. We need to have a international global law as far as AIs are concerned, just like we have for the nukes. We need to sit down as any plan, because now the AI field is so vast that if we don't have any international law governing such, people will do worse things against their neighbors completely. And so for now, I will still suggest that it's important that we need to have that kind of balance. It's very important. Then when it comes to you mentioned two things. When it comes to the law aspect, it should be part of our laws. And then we need to train practitioners how to prosecute, when we adduce evidence, how they will use those evidence to do prosecution. Even with our second generation and third generation crimes, it's becoming very difficult. So how then do we use AI-driven tools when we use it to commit crime? How would it be if it's abused? How would a judge, if it's not trained, make prosecutions or pronounced prosecutions on that? And so there's a total need for capacity building and awareness creation in this area as well. And it's very important. Yes. AI, to be very honest with you, AI is good. As we enter the new era of conflict, where algorithms may be as powerful as bullets, but with many and any tool, it is how we use AI that will determine whether it will protect us or to destroy us. That the future of war isn't just coding, it's in our conscience. And as leaders and citizens and tech innovators like yourself, we all have a role to play to ensure that technology serves humanity and not the other way around. That would be my concluding message. But I believe that with this, once we are all in that same space, you can't take military in isolation and leave you the innovators. No. And you cannot take government alone with that. So for AI, everybody must be
involved,
carried along. And that is how we can overcome that situation. And that is what Kenya and Rwanda have to learn to do.